What is a basic computer skill that you were shocked some people don't have? Not knowing what double-click means. Reading. As a tech supporter, I get the stupidest questions. Client. There's a prompt here that says, your computer needs to reboot to finish installing updates. Click here to restart. What does that mean? Me. It means your computer installed updates and needs to reboot. Client. How do I do that? Me. Click on the prompt to restart. My college roommate didn't know he could change his desktop background. He was blown away and went to show it off to one of our other friends, who was also blown away because she didn't know that you could change the background. You'd be surprised how many folk don't know what to type into search engines to find what they're looking for. Shape recognition. Does the end of the cable look like the hole in the machine? It's amazing how many people can't figure that out at work. Been working in IT long enough to where people not having basic computer skills doesn't shock me anymore. But still, how do people never figure out that you can search for programs in the Start menu? My Outlook is gone! Hits Start and types Outlook. Oh, there it is. How'd you find it? Copy and paste shortcuts. I caught a coworker flipping back and forth between tabs while retyping a paragraph. When I showed her how you can copy and paste, her response was, I can't keep up with all this new technology. I am 38. She is 40. My dad is 73 and definitely knows how to copy and paste. I think sometimes it's a choice to not learn stuff like that. Everyone has priorities, and it's perfectly fair if computer literacy isn't yours. But of course, you won't keep up if you choose not to try. Literacy. No, I don't mean being computer literate. I mean reading English words on a computer screen. In college, I worked at a help desk, and you would not believe the number of calls we got because the user just didn't read the text on the screen. Okay, what was the error? Nobody has ever answered this question when asked by IT support, because the people who can know to Google it and have no reason to call. Not knowing how to enter a URL. I've tried to get people to enter a URL over the phone and they just put it in the Google search bar, usually after first going to google.com. Them. My computer turns on, but my monitor doesn't show the picture. Me. Is your monitor plugged in and connected to the back of your PC? Them. No, I needed to use that outlet, so I unplugged it. I worked tech support for an ISP, and we had a storefront where customers could bring devices in for config. Had a lady once bring a router in with no power supply. She was dumbfounded and almost irritated when I told her I couldn't work on it. She said, "Why does it need a power cord? It's wireless." I once did a bit of tutoring for folk, and I remember one lady asked how she could open Word, so I told her to move the mouse pointer over to the Word icon and double-click on it, to which she replied, "Oh no, I can't do that. I don't like those mice thingies." Windows 95 games were actually great tools for teaching how to use a mouse, like Solitaire taught you how to drag and drop and things like that. Knowing how to save or open a document. I'm not kidding, I work with teenagers. Edit. Wow, it's amazing how many of these comments are kids in their phones these days, or kids have it too easy these days. Maybe when the OS is simplified but they still can't work with it, the issue isn't that they've been working with simplified OS all this time. I worked at a university, and there were so many college students that didn't know how to save their work. They come in, write out an entire paper in 2 hours, never saving, and then the computer glitches and they lose all their work. The ability to follow step-by-step how-to instructions. For example, I worked with a place that used a lot of picture files. There was an issue where we couldn't open JPEG files, but .jpg were okay, so you would have to rename the files to .jpg. I got my first batch of 100 JPEG files and said, there has to be an easier way. Everyone insisted you have to do it one by one, so I looked it up online and found that you can change file extensions in bulk using the command prompt. It literally took 5 steps. I made an easy-to-follow instructional document with screenshots and passed it around to everyone. I thought they'd be very thankful that I saved them hours of work. A month later, I caught them renaming each file one by one. I didn't say anything. Reading. You don't know how many family members have asked me to come help them because something popped up. Them. Why is it popped up? Box says the update will happen tonight. Me. There's an update coming. Nothing to worry about. Them. Oh wow, I'm so bad with this, I wish I understood it like you. It's in plain English, just read the screen. That turning it off and back on is a solution to most common problems. How to use Excel. Went to a job interview and they asked me about Excel and how I would rate myself. I asked them to clarify, like basic spreadsheet functions, formulas, or programming in Excel. They looked at me in shock and said, "You know a lot. You're an advanced user." I never answered the question, and they moved on to the next question. For those asking if I got the job, they offered me the job, but I went with another place that had better opportunities. Just navigating Windows Explorer and the organization of files. The amount of people who just stick every single file on their desktop is crazy, and they're not arranged in any particular order. When they need to find a file, they have to peer all around their desktop to find it. I know people who are studying to work in administrative jobs who don't even have the simple idea to sort their files in different folders. One of them is a single mother. She asked for my help once with her computer. Everything is dumped either on the desktop or in the Documents folder, whether it's bills, her kids' school reports, her latest homework, or selfies. And obviously, she never saved her files on an external drive or in a cloud. Her computer is old and just waiting to die. When it happens, she's in for a huge headache. I tried to help her by advising her to at least get a USB stick and save her most important documents, but she answered that as she was a single mother and that she did not have time to do that, and that I would understand when I got kids. How to close a browser. I had a colleague who complained about her computer being slow after lunch. Took a look and it turns out she was using minimize instead of close after reading emails. Had over 200 emails open. People often forget they can Google stuff instead of posting questions on social media. For example, what are the colors of the rainbow? How many months are there in a year? Those types of questions. It is said that the ability to use a projector decreases with more degrees. That is 100% true, at least at my university. How to open Task Manager when everything is freezing and force quit programs. Control-Alt-Delete was one of the first things my mom taught me on our home computer back in '95. I'm not actually surprised that people don't know how to use Shift, Tab, and Enter keystrokes to navigate, especially when the mouse is AWOL, but it's one of those skills that just makes using a computer easier. Okay, so I worked as a Best Buy computer tech in the early 2000s, right around the time that they were buying out the Geek Squad. I tell this story realizing how utterly ridiculous it is, but I attest that it happened as I tell it. I'm at work and the phone at our workbench rings. A woman is on the line, clearly stressed. Woman: "Hey, I just wanted you to know that your servers are on fire." Me: "I'm sorry, what?" "Your servers, they're on fire. I was shopping on your website and my computer started smoking." Thinks for a moment. "Wait, ma'am, is your computer on fire?" "Well, it's just smoking right now." "Ma'am, you need to hang up and call the fire department right now." "Oh, okay, thank you." Click. So this happened almost 20 years ago, and here is what I have deduced probably happened. She was on the Best Buy website when something happened to her PC, probably full of dust, and it started smoking. Since she doesn't understand the internet, she assumes that when she goes to our website, it connects to the closest Best Buy. She linked connecting to our servers with her computer catching fire. She thought the fire made its way through the phone line to her computer and made it start smoking. She wanted to let us know so that we could fix the problem on our end. I cannot guarantee that's what she thought. I sometimes think about this when I'm laying in bed and can't sleep. I'll never know for sure. That deleting the icon does not delete the game. Had a situation happen with an older coworker when I worked at Pizza Hut who knew I was in college for CS. She walked up to me with gusto and says, "I need a windproof Wi-Fi router because the wind keeps blowing it away." When I tried to explain to her that wind does not blow away Wi-Fi, I kid you not, this lady goes, "No wonder you can't get a job in computers." A couple of hours later, she's outside on the phone cussing out the ISP because they told her the same thing I did. Turns out it was orchestrated by her grandson telling her to ask for a windproof router, like when your dad tells you to go into AutoZone to ask for blinker fluid. Not realizing that there is more written in an email beyond the preview. Apparently all emails are only a few sentences long and typically trail off mid-sentence according to this person. I learned a long time ago not to send long detailed emails. Most people don't read beyond the third line. Anything past that just gets ignored. Old people, young people, doesn't make a difference. turning the caps lock on and off to type a capital letter instead of using the Shift key. I'm a third-year software development student with a 110 WPM average, and I do this, just how I learned as a kid, and it stuck. Now, of course, I can use Shift with no problem, but the auditory wax of the caps lock key is very satisfying to my monkey brain. Work IT. You will never be shocked by anything. There are a lot of people that don't know how to save or open a file, or I cannot tell you how many times I've had to teach someone how to browse a website. Mostly old people that had a PC bought for them by their kids or grandkids, and the kids set it up so that they can use Outlook to stay in contact with everyone and get photos. I had gotten a number of younger people too though, which is very surprising. Talking to a 25-year-old that doesn't even know how to turn their PC on. Thank God I don't work in IT anymore. As a 21-year-old who grew up with computers and is now a graphic design student, I learned 2 weeks ago that Control-A selected whole text blocks. This already changed my life. You can also tap the arrow keys while holding Control to move across an entire word, and of course, the cut/copy/paste shortcuts. How to effectively and succinctly begin a Google search. Some people are terrible at putting down the right keywords. My former boss used to be fascinated by my skill at Googling things or even just searching a PDF. She could not understand just putting in 1 or 2 keywords instead of an entire sentence. She also thought I was a wizard because of how I could easily get pictures off of my phone and put them in reports when we needed them. I used the cloud and print a PDF. She would email photos to herself, print them, and then scan them in. Not recognizing a scam email when it's really obvious. Sadly, a lot of companies don't seem to realize what scam emails look like, so their own emails seem a bit fishy if they don't have someone's personal info. I had this when my GP texted me to get my vaccine, sent from a personal mobile number, no directed info, and a message to click a random link. I googled it and it turns out loads of other people were thinking the same thing because it looked like a scam. Not so much a skill, but I was shocked when I would interview people in my previous company at the number of individuals who don't have an email address or even know how to create one. Just opening up and closing a tab on a browser, and also not knowing what I mean when I say, "What browser do you use?" How to keep the desktop from having 100 program shortcuts on it. I've talked to people who don't want their desktops to be that way, but they think it's unavoidable. These aren't necessarily skills, and are more related to hardware, but these things annoy me. 1. Calling desktop cabinets CPUs. 2. Assuming all desktops have speakers and Wi-Fi. 3. Assuming all monitors have webcams. 4. Switching off the desktop instead of the monitor when you're asked to switch off the monitor. Typing at an average speed, at least. It's painful to wait for someone to type something so slowly, especially when in a browser and they don't look at the URL bar to see that it's auto-completed and they could just hit enter. I'm in my 40s. I teach at a private elementary school. A teacher in her late 20s shared a Google Doc with me and had centered the title by hitting the spacebar a bunch of times. Another teacher around my age wanted to know why Google Docs would not translate her document into Spanish. It was a JPEG with text on it. No one seems to know any keyboard shortcuts. I'm always surprised by how bad most people are at using search terms that optimize their results, like when they Google things. These days, most of my Google searches have Reddit attached to them because the stuff Google gives me is irrelevant. Honestly, some obscure Reddit thread from 4 years ago with only 3 comments has saved my bacon more times than I'd like to admit. The ability to use a keyboard/type correctly. I'm a software engineer and I don't think I know the proper way. I just used a computer so much that I eventually got faster at typing. While in research class in college, about 3 years ago, my professor took the time to teach us how to use a keypad to facilitate data entry. Having taken a keyboarding class in high school, I thought it was unnecessary until people started asking questions and actually learning. It was then that I realized how many people my age don't actually know how to use a keyboard. It was wild. That most commercial office printers have a document server function. You send the print job and the printer holds it in a queue. Go to the printer and select your print job. No problems with a colleague accidentally taking part in your print job. Half my lab didn't know about this. Use section headers and Word will automatically generate an updatable table of contents for you. I've met recent graduates that don't know that. Excel formulas, even basic stuff, is unknown by so many people. never mind more advanced formulas that use logic code. I'm 43 and grew up when computers were newer, and we were all very versed in how they work and so forth. When I began my career in my 20s, I was somewhat of a tech guy. I figured younger people would know more than me in the future. No, it swung the other way. Example, I work with an intelligent woman who is 26 to 29 years old. She was on her laptop and said out loud in a meeting, "Hey, and now I know how to copy and paste. I can just copy and paste this a few times and make minor changes along the way." Wait, she didn't know copy and paste? And she graduated from university? It's not uncommon. People underestimate the power of the control key. You can make selecting and highlighting things easier to shorten the time it takes to organize files. Admittedly, I hadn't realized this for years until the last 2 years. Holding control and selecting each file, you can pick more files and move them, as well as delete. There's a lot, but I meet more people who lack basic file navigation than anything else. Had several people ask the Discord of a game I play for help with modding said game, but they can't follow the instructions I wrote on the wiki and the ones the mod loader provides, nor know how to so much as open File Explorer. A ton of people also don't know how to take screenshots with the Windows plus Shift plus S shortcut, but that is a bit more niche. It does let you quickly paste them though, so that's nice. You can also open clipboard history with Windows plus V. I'm currently in a How to Use Computers course because it is a required prerequisite for my degree, and the number of people in it who don't know how to use basic things like copy and paste, the search bar, settings, etc. is mind-boggling. Naming a document. You don't have to use the default img.exe or whatever. You can name it something so that you remember what it is, so it doesn't get lost. Saved me a lot of frustration in college when I was taught this for an online assignment. When people younger than me don't understand the difference between saving to the cloud or the PC, I'm new to OneDrive and SharePoint, etc., but it's not that difficult. Often they don't even look at where a file will save and then don't understand where it is. Just normal mouse skills. Some people are college age or slightly older than that and work at offices and take an eternity to move the mouse and click on something. This is not even related to the mouse's speed or sensitivity. The 4 basic keyboard shortcuts: cut, copy, paste, close/quit. Double-clicking things that only need a single click. Single-clicking things that need double. Remembering any password ever. Not knowing that Shift works as a temporary caps lock. Not knowing about tabbing or Shift tabbing through forms. Alt-tab. Mashing keys on a keyboard excessively hard when typing with exactly 1 or 2 fingers. Right-click and left-click are not the same thing. Trying to press middle mouse button while scrolling the page. I can keep going. The URL bar, Omnibox, in any modern web browser also works as Google. You don't need to navigate to google.com first. The whole vicious cycle of, I'm not good with computers. I always mess something up, so I try to stay away from them as much as possible. My apps aren't working. Is your OS up to date? Oh, I never do updates. The number of people who don't know how to open Task Manager and use Control-C or V and so on shocks me. Not knowing the difference between Google and a browser. Basic Outlook skills. Walked by a colleague's office a while back and he just looked defeated. I asked him what was wrong and he had been searching for an email for 2 days, and an update rebooted his computer and he lost his place. Confused, I asked for details. He had been scrolling email by email for 2 full working days. Showed him the search box and found the email in 20 seconds. He was relieved, but also defeated in a new way now. How to take a screenshot. The amount of screenshots on Reddit where someone took a picture of the screen on their phone is staggering. Apparently people don't know what the mouse is. I've heard this is a real Gen Z thing. This means in like 20 years my kids will be like, LOL, Dad, nobody uses a mouse anymore. You can't buy a screen that isn't a touch screen. You know, the same way I keep telling my boomer dad, stop leaving me voicemails. I can see that you called. I'll call you back or just text me. How to use any other password than just password. I know this is the opposite. However, when I was in college, we had some Wi-Fi problems. A housemate of mine knocked on my door to ask if I could help with her laptop. So the first thing I did was just open a terminal and entered ipconfig release, followed by ipconfig renew. And it worked. She thanked me, of course, and I went back to my room. 3 days later, I get a message. "Hey, I'm at university right now and I'm having Wi-Fi problems. What did you do to fix it again?" So I just typed something like, "Open command prompt and type in these commands." 2 minutes later, she thanked me, saying it's fixed. She wasn't tech savvy at all, yet she was smart enough to think his solution might work here too, and follow some not too detailed instructions. I was genuinely impressed and kind of proud that day. It kills me when people on laptops use their cursor to drag the scroll bar on a page instead of just using 2 fingers. So many, it makes me sad and blows my mind every time, not knowing that you can copy, cut, and paste with keyboard shortcuts. Complete lack of understanding of folders and understanding the desktop is also a folder. The most frustrating thing is people's refusal to read error messages and just simple Googling. Is password management considered a basic skill? Lots of people I know just have rather bad password management skills. I mean, you can't expect yourself to be able to memorize all 8 completely different complex passwords, each for a very specific login. Most people can't do that. So have a strategy to make your complex password and memorize them for which logins. Once you figure that out and put it into a good practice, your digital life will be made so much more easier. How to reply to emails so the conversation stays attached. How to set a background or ringtone. Being able to open up Task Manager. If you work in IT or any tech customer service role, you'll be shocked at how technically illiterate a large chunk of the population of all ages really are. It's baffling how resistant these people are to learning or understanding, too. For a while, I thought every person from the new generation would be 100% literate in computers. But ever since smartphones became a thing, I'm seeing a lot of young people with the same issues my grandparents had. I teach a class in Revit. One semester, I had a guy who just couldn't get anything to work. I kept explaining what he needed to click on, still nothing worked. Finally, I go stand behind him and watch what he's doing. He was right-clicking his mouse. But that's not all. I tell him to left-click on the icon. He right-clicks again. I tell him the other button, right-click. No, use the left mouse button, right-click. I finally had to put my hand over his and push his index finger down to show him how to left-click. He finally got things to work, occasionally, but was far behind the rest of the class. And to top it all off, at the end of the semester, he asks if there's an advanced level course he could take. A coworker had trouble with his primary monitor, always defaulting to the one on the right. I asked if he wanted the high-tech solution or the low-tech solution. Low-tech. Okay. I picked up his monitors and swapped them. He told me I should work in tech support since the help desk had never been able to solve his problem. Tech support can't afford me. As a librarian, it's shocking to see the number of people who just cannot navigate a computer at all. There were courses in my grad program that talked about the digital divide, but I had no idea that computer illiteracy was such a rampant issue. Many people have no idea how to use a mouse. The almost automatic assumption by some people that every screen is a touchscreen really gets me. I see it across age groups and levels of computer literacy too. Files and folders. Lots of people don't understand simple concepts like how to save a file where they want. Can't tell you how many times someone angrily accused Microsoft Word of deleting their document when it's literally right there in the document folder. Alt-Tab. I work in a G8 shop. I just reduced their workload by 30%. My housemate didn't understand the concept that the password for the computer could be a different one than the password for the house Wi-Fi. They are not the same thing. "Where's the start menu?" said by a student medical secretary in her final year. She also couldn't find delete. Didn't know what the shift or tab buttons do. How do I get to so-and-so? You click on the arrow next to the date. Which arrow? The one right where your mouse is positioned. Let's go of the mouse. No, this is too much. You'll have to show me. She was 1 month away from her exam, about to be thrown into the hospital world. Spoke to her former supervisor who said, "Yeah, she was catastrophic. We almost didn't approve of her." Really? Had to tell the poor sod that she had no possible way of passing this. And frankly, your previous supervisors made a huge error in letting you pass. You will crash and burn and possibly make a horrendous mistake if you start working with these non-existing skills. I showed the school some examples of her work, and they agreed. Rather than repeat the course, she quit. A medical secretary's work consists of using computers every single day. If she was this catastrophic after almost 2 years of studying, there really was no hope for her, not to mention how poor her basic grasp of the language was. Last week, my wife was trying to copy all of our wedding photos from the flash drive we received onto her computer. I was watching TV next to her when she sighed and said, "This is gonna take forever." I looked over and she was right-clicking the photos in the flash drive, selecting copy, and then clicking over to a folder in her documents and clicking paste. I took the computer, hit Control-A in the flash drive, then dragged it all over to the desktop, and it started copying all the files over. She looked at me like I had just discovered fire. She was seriously going to manually copy over about 700 pictures. A friend of mine works for a camping site. She got a call the other day from someone telling her that they did not intend to book anything, they were just looking. They had been on the campsite's website and somehow thought that their mere act of looking at the page would somehow indicate their intention to book. Nice of them to clear that up though. Typing with index fingers. I had a tech class in 7th, maybe 8th grade, and the whole course was to teach you how to type with both hands and not look at the keyboard. Luckily, I had a buddy in the class and it turned into a competition to see who could advance the fastest. But apparently, my younger sister, who went through the same school, didn't learn because they got rid of the class. She's in college and has the typing skills of a 12-year-old in their first month of learning. I always view the keyboard as learning how to walk. Learning the system, Excel, and troubleshooting, etc. is running. What surprises me most is the lack of skill to evaluate one's own capability. It's amazing how many times "my neighbor's son is amazing at computers" has ruined a nearly perfectly running computer. Thanks for watching until the end. Do you have an example you'd like to give? Please share it in the comments below. Then be sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you know when our next video is available. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.